Joseph down here with Esports News Network at the Pokemon Pittsburgh Regional with Eric Bartlett. Eric, tell us a little bit about your team here that you went 6-3 with at the first regional of the year.
Yeah, so my team was actually built by a top North American player, Kyle Livinghouse, who also day two'd the World Championships this year and day two'd this regional with the very same team. So I gotta give credit where credit is due. So the team, it is a Fluttermane, Chi-Yu, Tornadus, Landorus, Iron Hands, and Amoonguss. So it's very hyper offensive, but it does have that defensive backbone with Iron Hands and Amoonguss, so you can kind of play two different play styles. But the main sort of crux of the team is that Chi-Yu and sort of enabling it to do insane amounts of damage with choice specs.
Right, and a lot of people are surprisingly dropping that Amoonguss following the World Championship and kind of even leading into it to go for even more hyper offense. What do you see as the benefits and drawbacks of keeping it on your team?
So the thing is, Amoonguss is just like one of the best support Pokemon in the game, and Spore is always something you have to respect, and Amoonguss hate, I think, is something that needs to exist on every single team, because if you have a team, like this team, for example, does not have a lot of Amoonguss hate on it, like you have Taunt on Tornadus, but then you don't have anything like Safety Goggles, there's no Terra Grass, so like Amoonguss can still mess you up, it can still Spore your entire team under Trick Room, it can do so many things, so it's a Pokemon that you have to respect, but it's like a lot of teams are prepping super hard for it because of how good of a support Pokemon it is and just how much damage it can do to a team that's not prepared for it.
Right, and I understand that you traveled pretty far to come here, you took a couple hours drive with your group here.
Yeah.
What is it like for a Pokemon player having to like support yourself and make this travel? How do you make it possible?
Well, I mean, it helps that this is probably the closest regional to where I live, but I mean, you know, like it's as far as like having to make it happen, it's like, you know, you come to these events as like, you know, it's obviously competing and wanting to do well is important, right? But I mean, like just being here with all these people, like I have so many people that I had, like, you know, that I've made friends with throughout this years in this game, and like it's so important to me to be able to get to come to these events and see them and also compete. It's just fun, like, you know, it's just a good time, and like I enjoy the events regardless of how they go.
And for the rest of the events, for the rest of the season, you're starting off pretty strong already. More regulations coming up, a lot of changes. What do you plan on doing to either, whether it be practice more or work with other players, what are you going to do to make sure you start making those top cuts and making those brackets?
Yeah, so definitely I think some of the losses that are, you know, I kind of stick with me from this tournament in particular was prepping, because I hit a couple of matchups that were definitely doable, but definitely were tough for the team. So definitely like focusing prep work on matchups that, so I can have a better, you know, understanding of what the team struggles with and how to overcome certain struggles. So definitely going to be a lot more prep work with, I'm in a couple team building groups and prep groups, so definitely we talk a lot about, you know, and we help each other out with teams and matchups and stuff. And like, you know, it's a whole new series coming up, like Regulation D is basically over now. There's going to be a whole new pool of Pokemon that are getting introduced in the DLC, so there's definitely going to be a whole new dynamic to the format. It's going to still feel very familiar because there's still a lot of very good Pokemon that exist in the metagame right now that are definitely going to still be good once the DLC drops and all the new Pokemon and existing Pokemon come back to the game. So yeah, it'll just be about finding what's the new play for the new format, and just, you know, learning all about what the metagame has to offer and how to prep for the biggest threats.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much for all the insight, and good luck to you for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.